With episode 3 of Severance recently being released, and it being the first episode in season 2 that really drove the plot forward by allowing all of the characters to branch off into their separate arcs, the season has now well and truly begun. This show is deliberate in its attempt to confuse its viewers and also make us question, guess and theorize about pretty much everything that we see, and I'm going to be doing exactly that in this video for the next episode. From Miss Cobel to Dylan and Grechen to Irving and his hunt for the exports hallway, and also the now Innie and Outie connected mind of Mark. So with that, let's discuss theories on all things Severance episode 4. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers for all episodes before it. Dylan's conflict with his Outie. One major thing that I think we could see occurring in the next episode of the show and beyond is some kind of rift that the Innie version of Dylan could go on to have with the Outie version of himself. The seed was definitely planted for that in the most recent episode, where the Innie version called the Outie version a screw-up due to him never really being able to find his thing when it came to a career. So it feels like that mindset and attitude that he has towards him will likely continue moving forward as he learns more about him. What I found particularly interesting was that the Outie version of Dylan, despite being severed, came across as quite lazy when he was at home. He was sitting on the couch and not even doing the pre-made cookies for his kids that Grechen asked him to do. Don't get me wrong, after a long hard day at work, there's nothing better than just sitting back on the couch, relaxing and watching a bit of TV. But this version of Dylan hadn't been at work, so there wasn't really an excuse for him to not be bothered to help out. The Innie version of Dylan is quite literally the polar opposite to that. He's a hard worker and is acknowledged and respected for the work that he does at Lumen, whereas on the outside, it feels like Dylan couldn't really care less due to not really having his thing. I wonder if that was Dylan's reason for actually getting severed, because he simply couldn't be bothered with work. Everybody has their reason behind getting severed, and I feel like that could be why Dylan had the procedure done, maybe through laziness and through feeling uninspired. I also think this lack of inspiration and doom and gloom Outie Dylan will face repercussions of that attitude, and that will come in the form of Grechen becoming more attracted to the Innie version of Dylan, and there potentially being some kind of romantic spark between them. This will tie into the wider theme of the value of an Innie's life and how it compares to that of an Outie, because realistically, they are two different entities that just operate in the same body. So there is value to the life of an Innie for certain. Plus, the moral question will probably be tackled around if Grechen is actually cheating on her husband or not if she does do anything with the Innie version of him. Because technically, it's the exact same body as what the Outie version is, so would there be anything wrong with that? We've not seen an Innie and an Outie have a feud in the show before, but I definitely feel like we could see that happening due to the fact that both versions of Dylan couldn't be farther from each other, and the Innie version of himself will most likely make Grechen feel valued again, and exhibit that romantic spark that made her fall in love with the Outie version of Dylan all of those years ago that's faded away. Both versions of Dylan treat Grechen differently as well, and I think she'll take appreciation in the interest that the Innie Dylan will show towards her and their children when compared to the grumpy, uninspiring attitude that the Outie bestows upon her. So this is an arc that I'm hoping we'll see happen because it will be entertaining and provide really thought-provoking moments about if what's happening is morally right or wrong. The loyalty shift of Harmony. I think loyalties are definitely going to be shifting in the next episode of the show, and I think we'll see it most with Miss Cobel and maybe even Mr. Milchick. Miss Cobel is already drifting to the other side of the fence. In fact, I don't think she'll ever truly be on the side of MDR, but I think she'll cement her position even more of going against Lumen if they're not prepared to give her the position that she feels she deserves. Something that they'll never do following how she acted in season 1 of the show as Miss Selvig. We saw that Harmony had the breathing tube in her car that was connected to Charlotte Cobel, an individual that seemed to have been born in 1944. So based on that, it could well be her mother's. And I feel that loss is something that she may well have never properly gotten over, and it could be what essentially led Harmony on this pathway for her to end up where she is now. A loyal Keir Egan supporter and an indoctrinated individual that has been prepared to devote her life to the cause. We know that she went to Myrtle Egan School for Girls, which is said to be a regimented indoctrination for girls, possibly orphans. So maybe once her mother died, she could have landed in that school because she could have been orphaned. I think we're actually about to sympathize with Harmony Cobel. I know, who'd have thought it, right? This could be as we hopefully learn more about her past, upbringing, and the pain that she went through when she was younger. I wonder if Salt's Neck could be where she was raised and why she was planning on driving there at the beginning of episode 3. With her driving off again at the end of the 3rd episode, maybe we'll see her actually going there this time, and that's where we might see her past being explored. There was a moment in the most recent episode where we saw that Harmony got spooked once she saw the driver of Helena's car. She stopped in her tracks, walked away, and drove off without saying a word. Personally, I thought she clocked that maybe Helena and the board were planning on resetting her or putting her through some kind of procedure if she entered Lumen. That way she wouldn't be able to spill all of the information that she's aware of that goes on within Lumen. Things that could be damaging if the press got a hold of them, because Lumen already has a lot of speculation in the press about them and a lot of negativity. So her being reset could have almost been like a failsafe for them. However, with her walking off, that's something that won't be possible now. With her being treated the way that she is, I feel we're going to see her turn her back on the cult of Keir Egan and Lumen and navigate this isolated period of her life where she quite literally has nobody but the memory and item that represents her mother. Irving's mourning and hunt for exports. Another element of the show that I think we're going to see getting explored in the next episode is based on Irving. Irving didn't feature heavily in episode 3, but I feel like we could see him have more of a larger involvement in the next episode. This is due to the revelation and the breadcrumbing that was done around the meaning of the paintings that he saw when he was in his Outie's form. We found out in episode 3 that the hallway that had been plaguing his mind is the hallway that leads to exports, the place where nobody goes anymore other than one guy. We know that Irving trusts Dylan the most out of the people in MDR, and he's been suspicious about Helly from the moment that they got back there, so I wonder if he's going to confide in Dylan about what Felicia told him. I think this will spark Irving to go on the hunt for the exports hallway. I think exports is the place where Lumen potentially take people that are out of line, and it's almost like a disposal room. Exports is pretty much another word for outgoing, sending away, or getting rid of. It's essentially getting off of the perimeter, so I feel there's a bad connotation there for sure. The real question is though, why does Irving have a connection to this hallway, and why is he painting it on the outside? I wonder if in the past, Irving was maybe sent to exports and it was a traumatizing experience. When looking back at what Helena said to Miss Cobel in this episode, she said, "It doesn't have to be this way. Why don't we reset?" I wonder if following Irving going to exports, he had this reset type procedure done to him. And could that be why his Outie is able to have some kind of memory of this hallway? Because maybe there were parts of his Innie's mind that were bleeding into his Outie's mind. It did make me also question if Irving was reintegrated at some point, but I don't think that's the case because there's clearly two different sides to the character. As well as that, his mourning for the loss of Bert is something that will continue to be developed and dictate his sorrowful mindset and attitude. The Reintegrated Mark. One of the biggest moments in episode 3 came when Mark underwent the reintegration procedure and the Innie version of his mind and the Outie version of his mind started operating as one. This is something that's going to be game-changing for the show. We've got a reintegrated Mark in MDR, potentially Helena and not Helly on the floor. Irving hunting for the exports room and Dylan being against his Outie. The dynamic shift in the group is crazy. With Mark being reintegrated, I feel we're going to see him doubling down on looking for Miss Casey/Gemma. And with him now knowing everything that the Innie version of himself did, the two sides of information that previously couldn't be shared might end up being beneficial in his hunt for his wife. I also wonder where that's going to leave Mark and Helly. Mark's mind now essentially operates as one, and he's going to be primarily looking for his wife, but at the same time, the Innie part of his mind will still be caring for Helly. So I think that will be a conflict of interest that we'll most likely see getting developed. With reintegration being a procedure that's almost done down a back alley and something that's not recognized by Lumen, I wonder if it will come back to get Mark at all. We don't truly know if there are any side effects that will occur and what the long-term damage could be to blending two parts of your mind into one. Surely it can't be as easy as what we saw, right? So Mark might have some trouble on the horizon. The title of the next episode is Woe's Hollow, and the definition of woe is great sorrow or distress. That is definitely the undertone and mood of the season so far, but we've seen it most with Harmony Cobel, so I think that means we could potentially see the sorrowful side of Harmony Cobel being explored and the isolation that she's going to be experiencing. As you can see, there are quite a lot of different directions that the next episode of the show could go in. However, these are a few key points that I think we could see getting covered. So, there you have it, Severance Season 2 Episode 4 Theories Explained. If you want to see more videos on Severance Season 2, then click on the card in the top corner. I'm breaking down every episode, so be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss a video. What do you think will happen next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for tuning into the video and I'll see you in the next one.